Jaden Hardy is a 6'4", 190-pound shooting guard prospect from the Vegas area. He's ranked 3rd by 24/7 Sports and 2nd by ESPN in the 2021 recruiting class. Hardy is known as one of the, if not the most prolific scorer in high school basketball. He's drawn comparisons to guys like Devin and Bradley Beal because of his shot making, and Hardy is one of my favorite players in high school because of his game, and today I want to talk about it. Before we get into today's video, if you do and love basketball, I really think you would like this channel, so if you haven't already, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. I try to upload new daily on this channel, and if you want videos on the NBA, the draft, and high school hoops, this is the place to be. I'm trying to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so doing all those things would be a big help to me. Follow my Twitter if you want to talk basketball with me, or anything in general. Honestly, I'm always on that app. Link in the description below. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. The obvious thing with Jaden Hardy is his ability to score the basketball. It's the thing that's always bugged the most when people talk about him. He's called a walking bucket for a reason, because he is one. The guy is a true 3-level scorer. He's a good slasher that has great body control around the rim. He draws contact at a high rate. He's a very advanced shot creator that creates his own shot off the dribble at an elite level. He creates separation using step backs, snatch dribbles, and hesitation moves. He has deep shooting range that extends beyond the 3-point line. He scores well in the PNR as well. He's very comfortable with scoring over multiple help defenders. He's somebody that gets double teamed almost every time he crosses half court because he's just that much of a threat to score. And it's not just teams, that don't have great players on it. It's like teams that are elite, like EYBL teams, teams that have like a bunch of 5-stars on them. Like even those teams are like bringing multiple help defenders to try and defend him because they know he's that hard to stop. And honestly, every time they do that, it doesn't really matter because he's going to score more times than not. He has a quick and high release. He does have a slight hits in his shot. That could be tweaked over time, but I don't think it's that much of a problem right now. And he's not just someone that I believe is a shot maker. I really think he's a good shooter as well that is efficient more times than not. He's a very capable off-ball scorer as well because of his ability to shoot. And Hardy is definitely a score-first player. It's very obvious when you watch him play, but I do think he is a decent passer. He's beginning to understand the gravity he has as a player and is becoming better at finding the open man. I wouldn't say the passing is great, but I wouldn't say it's bad. I would definitely say it's good enough to say that he isn't a one-dimensional player. He has potential to be a good defender as well because of his lateral movement skills and long arms. He has a 6'10" wingspan for some perspective, and he's a really good rebounder for a guard as well. Of course, no prospect is perfect, and Hardy is no exception to that rule. The big concern for me when it comes to Jaden Hardy is his shot selection. He is a player that is very capable of hitting a shot from any spot on the court. He's an elite scorer, obviously. However, just because you can hit a shot from anywhere on the court doesn't mean you always should take that shot, because it's not always the right decision. And that's something Hardy will need to improve on. Sometimes he'll settle for tough jumpers instead of driving to the rim or dishing to the open man. This has a lot to do with his confidence and his ability to hit difficult shots and as a scorer in general. And to be fair to him, it is more than understandable as to why you would be confident in your ability as a scorer if you were as talented as Jaden Hardy in that regard. But nonetheless, it is something he will need to improve on because once he gets to the higher levels, Hardy isn't going to be guaranteed as somebody that is the best player on the team, and he's not going to have the freedom that he had in high school. And this is something that, will need to improve to fit in a organized offense. It's something that current first overall pick Anthony Edwards is kind of struggling to do right now. Now, it's not completely as bad as Anthony Edwards because I think Hardy is a better shot maker and he's a better shooter overall. But I do think it's very similar in the concerns about settling and taking tough shots instead of driving to the rim or finding the open man. It is something that is kind of similar, I would say. On defense, though, Hardy does need to improve. He needs to give more effort. He has all the tools to be a good defender. Like I mentioned earlier, he's a good lateral mover. He has long arms. I just think he needs to be locked in more. I do think part of this is because he has to carry the load on offense and takes breaks on defense. He's not the only player, especially among high-level athletes, that do that. Now, I will say that it was a bit of a concern on the EYBL circuit as well, where he was teammates with guys like Jalen Green and Josh Christopher, so take that for what it is. Also, he will need to cut down on turnovers if he wants to be a primary guard on a team. His passing is solid, but nowhere close to being good enough as a primary initiator. This isn't a big concern because he's such a gifted scorer that alone will make him successful in my opinion. But if he wants to take his game to the next level and potentially become a franchise cornerstone guard, it will need to improve. These are flaws that must be improved, but I have said similar things about other guard prospects that have gone on to find major success at the higher level, so I am confident in him improving on these things. Overall, Jaden Hardy is an elite prospect in my opinion. He's somebody that is one of the best scoring prospects I've seen since starting this. He's up there with guys like Romeo Langford and Michael Porter Jr. and Amani Bates and Trey Young as far as scoring prospects go that were coming out of high school. What they became in the NBA or in college, that's a whole other story, but when they were coming out of high school, they were elite scoring prospects, and Hardy's on that level as a scorer, and that says a lot about how highly I think of him. He's either elite or has some potential to be elite in all categories of scoring. He shows flashes as a passer and defender that honestly make me believe he's more than just a one-dimensional scorer. And I do have confidence that he will improve on his weaknesses. This is somebody that went from his junior to senior year and showed a lot of improvement. He's somebody that went from like 6th his junior year to like 2nd in the country by ESPN his senior year, because he had amazing preseason and he's looked incredible. He was amazing against Chet Holmgren. He was amazing, against that IMG team. He was really good against that California team that had Amari Bailey and Bronny James on it. And he has topped the rankings because of that, and rightfully so. And he did show improvement in areas from his junior year to now where he's improved as a passer. It still is a work in progress, but he has improved in that regard. Defensively, he looked better, although again, he still needs to work on that. But the fact that he did some improvement is encouraging. And it's interesting because the G League is relatively high on getting him, and there's a big chance that he might go there. And if he does go there, that's going to be great for him because he's already showing improvement, and the G League will only help him more. Again, UCLA and Kentucky are in the running. Wherever he ends up, I'm going to be happy to watch him, and I'm excited to see where he goes. But I do think going to the G League would be very beneficial for him in reaching his full potential. Because, again, if he improves as a passer and as a defender, he's already an elite scorer. There's no doubt about it. It'll just take his game to the next level. And that would be exciting to see because he's a very fun player to watch. I just find Jaden Hardy so fun to watch as a player. He is kind of like the LaMelo Ball of scoring, where you look at LaMelo Ball and you see these passes that he makes, and they're very difficult passes, and they're passes that only some of the best players in the world can make. And even some of the best players in the world can't make the passes that he makes, and he does those, and he makes them look easy. I think it's similar to Jaden Hardy in scoring. He makes some of the toughest shots that some of the best players in the world can't even make, and he makes them look easy. That's how special of a scorer he is. And I'm excited to see what he does, like I mentioned earlier. Now, I do think, even though I mentioned the whole G League and how much it would help his progression and things like that, I do think it's too early to kind of set a ceiling on what kind of player Jaden Hardy could be. His archetype suggests he has a similar ceiling to, a guy like Anthony Edwards. I know Anthony Edwards has been struggling, and I mentioned him earlier, but I do think Edwards has a relatively high ceiling, and I think Hardy does as well. But that's about as far as I could say. I'm not going to compare him to any NBA players. I think making NBA comparisons at this point is kind of stupid. And I just want Jaden Hardy to be his own player, because he is. He's a unique player in his own right, and it's just a joy to watch, and I'm excited about it. But that is the end of this video. If you've made it to this point, thank you so much. If you haven't already, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. Help me reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and also try to get this video to 100 likes so YouTube will recommend it to others. I hate how that works. I hate that I have to say things like that, but apparently it is the only way that works. But let me know down in the comment section below, what do you think about Jaden Hardy? I'm not saying make an NBA comparison, but are there aspects of his game that remind you of certain NBA players? Not direct comparisons, but certain aspects of his game that remind you of certain players, whether it be his shooting form, his ability as a shot creator, things like that. I would love to hear all of that in the comment section, so that would be awesome. Follow my Instagram, follow my Twitter, links to those in the description as always. But with that being said, have a nice day.